Hey, thanks for being here. Let's talk. So, if this is your first time on this channel, welcome. If you've been here before, what to do, baby? And thanks for coming back. So this channel, if you haven't been here, is very intentional. And every few episodes, I have a conversation, as you'll see, with somebody who has impacted my life and I think would impact your life. And so today, that person is Yadva.
Hi.
All right. So I met Yadva in high school.
Don't embarrass me.
But we clearly are not in high school anymore. So
Even though we don't look it.
No, definitely 12, maybe 11. I don't know. But a lot has happened since then, including babies, and well, more babies for her. I'm still out here, okay? But that's why we have her today, and that's what we're talking about today. So, yeah, please tell the interwebs about yourself.
Okay, like she said, my name is Yadva. My full name is Yadva Ashandi. I really like my name because it's two languages mixed. It's Hebrew and Swahili. Yadva, you want technically the way Yadva is spelled, you're not supposed to say the V. You're supposed to say Yata. Y-A-T-V-A.
Okay, Yata.
Yeah. And then Ashandi is derivative of Asante Sana. So together, it is like I'm always well. Good, thanks. So I'm always well. That's one of the reasons why I love my name so much. Even though you grew up knowing me as Thandi.
Yeah, I don't know where this Yata or Yadva, which is now Yata, came from. Because I was even like, so why did you change your name, girl? Because I'm obviously like woke and I'm here for rebirth. And she's like, that was never my name. And I was like, I know.
And you know what really proves it to me is I never actually liked it even when I didn't know my real name. So then on my birth certificate when I went to varsity, that's actually what happened. Mm-hmm. All my school documents had Thandi here.
Yeah, because that's
the name. True. And then my birth certificate only has Yadva Ashandi. Therefore my passport only has Yadva Ashandi. So now I'm in SA with a whole lot of high school documents that are like Thandi. Yeah. And then a whole lot of university information that says Yadva. And even I was shocked. That's what happens when your parents fill in everything for you. Really? You know? Yes, girl, yes. So Miss Gooder saved my life by writing a testimonial. Yes, by writing a testimonial.
Okay.
That said,
this is the same person.
Yes. And since then, that's actually why I stuck to my name. And that's why I always say old friends, they are entitled to that name, Thandi. Because it comes with its own history, comes with its own story. And I also love the chapter that it was.
Right.
And I also love the chapter that Yadva Ashandi is. And even now, I'm in a phase of Miss Y.
Okay.
And I also love
Miss
who
Y.
she is. Yeah, because Miss Y is like, in this scenario, I'm Miss Y.
Right.
And then at the office, I'm Miss Yadva.
Okay,
you
girl.
see, so that's why I love my name.
But that's
so
so amazing, and I know this has nothing to do with what we're supposed to be talking about today, but I promise we will get to it. But it's interesting because people always try to shorten my name. People always try to call me Ndapewa, and I'm like, I'm not Ndapewa. But it's because my mom always emphasized that I should write my name correctly, like in full on documents, and I didn't get it, and I'm getting it now because I've always written Ndapewa Shali Ndahafa Shipala on everything, right? Mm-hmm. And I realize now the way that people are so used to it, there are actually people called Ndapewa. That's like on their birth certificate.
Full name is Ndapewa.
And then I can only imagine if my matric certificate said Ndapewa Shipala, and now it's like, who are you?
Yes. And you know, we don't take our identity very seriously. Right. And I do. I mean, that's why even with my kids, they're having names, different names, but their first name is always their most ethnic name.
Yes, please.
So my daughters are Tudembi, which
please.
is Osherero for we shall not forget, because I'm actually Osherero.
Yeah.
And then my son, because Shawambo culture, from what I understood, the child normally takes the father's surname.
Yeah.
But in my culture, it is not like that.
Yes. Oh, that we should make a video about that because the drama.
Yes, in my culture, it's not like that. The saying goes, if you want the child to have the name, you give the mother the name. So I was not given the surname, so the child does not have it.
Yes.
But because we respect and love each other, then he gets the right to name the child.
Okay.
So that's why he's Pandileni. And then I get the second name. So for my daughter, her second name is Aurora, as in Aurora Borealis, as in Aurora, Queen of the Dawn, because she's literally the light of my life. Yeah, when we get to some of the things that we're talking about, you'll understand why she's the light of my life.
Okay.
And then my son is Mika. That's for me because Yadva is Hebrew, Mika is also Hebrew, and it's like saying of God, like of God.
That's lovely.
Yeah.
I think I'm so grateful at like how intentional you are with naming your children, because my parents were also very intentional, and none of us have a European name. And everyone's always like, wait, what's your Christian name? Or like, what's your government name? I'm like, Ndapewa Shari Ndahafa. That is who I am. But people tend to, because we grew up in that era, we were born in that era, and it's not God. It's like people generally have a Eurocentric name, and then have a Christian name, and then have their traditional name, and in the mother tongue or ethnic language or whatever, and then their surname. But it's so interesting because there was a pastor who refused to baptize my brother with that name, and he was like, yeah, it was a struggle until it was okay, fine, because it was early 80s, and he was like, no, the child must have a Christian name. And you're like, Christ in Finland. But okay, that's a story for another day.
Yes, and that's one of the things that I must say, although again off topic, I admire a lot about Asian cultures, is that they hold on to theirs for dear life. You could even maybe the new generations in America and Europe are different, but even when they all moved over and the immigrants, yes, you must assimilate and you must speak English with the right accent. But best believe at home, you're also going to learn your indigenous language. And that's something
that is so important. I think I'm going to have you back definitely.
Yay!
Yes, no, because we need to go into that. I really want to go into like names and the importance of language. And I talk about it a lot, but I've never made a video on it. And I really hope I can have you back for that. But to get into today's gist, before I start, I don't usually do this, but this is, I actually wrote it so that I don't mess it up. I really want to dedicate this episode to every single mother and every single mother who has experienced any part of what we're discussing today. And I want to take this particular moment to acknowledge you and to honor you and to remind you that you are amazing and you are doing amazing, sweetie. I should probably put in that Kris Jenner gif right now. But also a trigger warning, which is something I recently realized I need to be doing, is we are talking about depression, and we are talking about mental health issues and mental wellness, and in particularly postpartum depression. Right, okay, so thank you again for doing this with me. I'm going to try and make sure that I keep this conversation as honest. I'm going to try and respectfully, as the millennials say, hold space for you and every woman who has been challenged or who has challenged and overcome postpartum depression. Okay, so I'm going to go into a quick definition as per the people who know the things, because this is for anybody who maybe has either not experienced it or hasn't. Sometimes we've experienced things, but they haven't been defined for us. So I'm going to articulate it as the way that the people with the degrees in these things have said. Right. So according to the National Institute of Mental Health, I assume this is America. There's no National Institute of Mental Health in Namibia, but they say that perinatal depression is a mood disorder that can affect women during and after childbirth, during pregnancy and after childbirth. So the word perinatal refers to the time before and after the birth of a child. And then so perinatal depression includes depression that begins either during pregnancy, called prenatal depression, and depression that begins after the baby is born, which is called postpartum depression. And then mothers with perinatal depression experience feelings of extreme sadness, anxiety, and fatigue, and that may make it difficult for them to carry out daily tasks, including caring for themselves and others. with that said, Yadva or Yatta, oh guys, hey,
You just
they're by their
Yadva,
names.
it's fine.
So Yadva has been kind enough to have this conversation with us, and I hope that through this video, someone is like you or anybody watching or anybody you know can get some help because of it. And I also want to say that this was a recommendation from one of my viewers. I'm hoping you're watching. I didn't get back to you to ask if I could use your name, so I'm not gonna do that. But this is a recommendation. After the previous video, they wrote to me and asked me to talk about post two things: social anxiety, which I think we'll have another video about, and then postpartum, which I don't have children and I've never been pregnant, so I don't know. So I got to the people who know these things, and that I reached out to a couple of my friends, and Yatva has agreed. So thank you, Yatva, and I really hope that I'm gonna handle this as delicately as possible. So let's talk about your experience. So the first thing I wanted to find out is, did you get how did you know? Did you have like, I know something wrong? Is like, were you having, do you know about it? And then you thought, oh, I've known about this, because maybe somebody watching this now, right, is going to be like, oh, I saw that in a video. This must be what's happening to me. Or were you just like, the hell is happening? Or did you get an actual diagnosis? Like, how did you know?
You know, I actually prayed this whole time that I stay in a emotional state that I can actually convey myself properly.
I'm also trying to hype you up.
Yes.
With the smile.
When I listened to your definition, right, I've actually in this moment come to realize I had perinatal, which means before the birth, like as in during pregnancy and after pregnancy.
Okay.
Yes. Because when I read it, I still didn't feel perinatal. I just felt postpartum. But now when I hear it out loud, it's like definitely perinatal altogether.
So definitely prenatal and postpartum.
Yes.
Right.
So what happened was even from the end going forward, even when I got medication for it, my doctor did not sit down and talk to me. He just said, I'm giving you mood stabilizers. Right. And then we took it from there. So jumping to the beginning. How did I come to realize this? Let's just talk about the journey. So number one, I was 28. Which means my whole crew was mostly 28. We were friends, but only two of us were pregnant. The one was 6 months ahead of me.
Okay.
Yes. Okay. So no, I had two friends that were pregnant, and then they were a bit ahead of me.
Okay.
And everybody's like, ah! And first of all, my pregnancy was miserable. I love meat. My daughter was like, no, ma'am.
Really? Oh, please, God, no.
I discovered morning sickness.
Don't take the meat from me.
Morning sickness. Why do they call it morning sickness? They call it pregnancy sickness.
Yeah, so apparently it's just anytime is tea time.
Anytime is tea time.
Oh my gosh.
I could not stomach any food. The only thing that really I survived on was dry crackers and boshi chips. Yes. And then, so I had thought I was...
Hold on, for non-Namibians, boshi chips is...
hot chips.
It's potato chips. Like
fries.
But very unhealthy and dipped in 30-day-old cooking oil. But that's a story.
Yes.
But yes, okay. Yes, so you were on dry crackers and potato chips.
Yes.
Wow.
So I was already generally miserable. Okay. Right. Then my other two friends that were pregnant, they were married, and so then I was also not having that, and then. Okay, I'm gonna talk about the rest. So it was such an emotional period, and then I also knew people, they don't like it when you're pregnant, out of wedlock, and all that stuff. Yeah. So it was a lot going on, right? And then myself and my circle of friends, we're all a bunch of immature idiots. So
28.
Yes,
28 is grown, guys. We're adults.
Girl, they don't teach you what they need to teach you about emotional intelligence. They don't. No. So then we also had messiness going on,
Okay.
So I felt so alone. I cried so much. I was so sad the whole time.
Okay.
Yes. So I did not know I had... It's the prenatal. Yes, I didn't know I had prenatal, but I now, in retrospect, I felt like I did have, just because of how sad I was, how much time I spent crying. I think, first of all, the first 3 months were the most miserable because I couldn't eat. I even lost weight whilst being pregnant. Yeah. And let me tell you something about these kids. They're genuinely parasites. They will eat. You will not eat, but they will eat from your body, and your body will suffer. So just feed yourself, man. Just find a way. So yeah, and the pregnancy itself was making me miserable just because of the condition it was putting me through. Sidebar, also guys, I think we need to respect people having pregnancies that are smooth, because it's actually a miracle that so many pregnancies are so smooth.
Right.
Generally, it feels like a risky thing all the time. Yeah. Back to the story. So I was generally a bit miserable most
already
of the time
while you were pregnant.
Yes.
And there's so many things going around, so maybe you're linking it to like the dramas within the friends group, and the fact I'm not married, and now it's also a thing,
a thing, and now I have to move back home, and I thought I'm
grown.
But no, because also I understand why you go to your mother's house or your mother comes to you, because it seems like you can only tolerate very few things in that period. I used to live with a bunch of my cousins, and one of them had a daughter, and we had wooden floors. So there used to be a time before I was pregnant where I enjoyed that pitter patter. And when the moment I got pregnant, the child was annoying the crap out of me. So I realized I'm the problem.
Wooden floors,
not them.
So I can't have meat. I can't have wooden floors. Bro, you're freaking me out.
Each pregnancy is its own experience, because my other friends that I went through it with had
wow, sunflowers and roses.
But the one thing my daughter gave me is a burst of energy, though. I had so much energy. Yes. So they come with their things. So I was generally very sad. Then she came while I was living with my mom, because I moved back home and all that jazz. And then first I thought I was just having fatigue, because I had a cesarean, and I just thought this is like hormone drain, whatever, because I was feeling low. And you feel like through the motions, and then in a point Charlotte would come and visit. She's like, oh my god, she's blinking.
Like, wow, just like so cute. And I'm really that, but don't let me around your baby. I'm like, oh, she smells like baby.
And I'm just like, guys, what are the eyes supposed to be doing?
You don't understand. It's like eyes blink and toes toe, but these toes are toeing particularly wonderfully, and the baby is babying particularly wonderfully.
And that's exactly the feeling that I got the whole time. Is I don't understand
why people
everybody
are so
is
excited.
gaga about their own baby, because the one friend is 6 months ahead, the other friend is 3 months ahead. I'm just like, it's a human. Thank God she's healthy. The end. And then on top of that, like I wasn't there for it. Like it just felt like feed, finish, change, wash. My mom even started sleeping with the baby. Like, so I really felt the sensation of I'm just going through the motions. I feel nothing. So I went to my doctor. Then he's like, oh, those things make sense. This is literally what he said to me. Those things make sense. I'm going to give you some multivitamins and then some mood stabilizers. And that was it. Then, I mean, my emotions didn't get better in the sense of I felt wonderful things about my child at all. Sidebar, that feeling only came when she was 2 years old, guys. It was the ghetto. But I think yes. So, but then what happened is I just felt less low. But then
because of the mood stabilizers, because of the vitamins, so now they're at least taking you out a little bit out of the trenches.
But I felt no connection to the child. I didn't feel like she was amazing. I didn't feel like the toes were toeing.
The toes weren't the little toes that look like this.
I mean, she's a like cutie pie, and I just thought I really have a cute child. That's what I thought.
Definitely.
Yes, and that's about it. I didn't think more than that. So then, how I realized that it was postpartum. Due to other things in my life, I started going to therapy. Yes. Then the lady, the therapist, was like, what medication are you on? I'm like, Lamictal, la what? And then she's like, do you know that Lamictal is an antidepressant? And I'm like,
didn't know you were. So your doctor prescribed an antidepressant for you, and you didn't know that it was an antidepressant.
And he was calling it a mood stabilizer. Yes, and
another video.
Yes, so for me, I was a bit disappointed that he didn't inform.
I also think it's a bit reckless, but okay.
Yes. So then, and actually the reason also why I wanted to go to therapy is because I came to a stage where I felt like I want to try to manage myself and not let medication manage me. Because the thing with mood stabilizers is that, I don't know, have you ever watched Alice in Wonderland?
I haven't even read the book.
But you know the characters,
the internet
right?
is gonna come for me.
But you know the characters. So the cat once said to Alice, "You've lost your muchness."
Okay.
right? Which is Alice's
your
muchness.
Okay.
So I felt I've lost
your
my muchness
okay.
because of the antidepressants that I was taking, and I just felt I'm not. This was me talking to myself. I don't feel like I'm at that level of depression that I really need medical intervention all the time. Maybe because I feel like in general, our life cycle, we have ups and downs, highs and lows, emotionally and psychologically. So I should be able to regulate myself a little bit better. And if I'm unable to naturally regulate, then we can
I will really go back to it.
Yeah, that's how
because sometimes it is necessary. So
that's how I ended up going to therapy just to figure out myself and stuff like that.
Which should actually, I'm sorry to cut, like the first step should be therapy, so you can really figure out what's happening.
And I'm grateful that I'm privileged enough to have a medical aid that is, that covers. I came off of them, and I'm still in therapy. I've changed therapists because one thing we don't talk about enough, but you have, I think, is that we move through different phases of our life.
Right.
And what my first therapist did for me, I actually felt her time has come to an end, and now I'm with another therapist who is more mindful and so on, and it's our time now, and maybe our time will come to an end, and maybe our time will not come to an end. Who knows? But yes, so the other therapist, my first one, she really did a lot for me. And
the groundbreaking
work, especially to kind of understand myself, to feel competent and capable, and so forth. So so that's how I kind of became aware of my situation. So all in all, nobody ever said, "Hi, Edma, you have postpartum. Congratulations!" But through retrospective analysis, I realized that's what it was all along. And now, even in this moment, I realized it was actually perinatal altogether, because it started while I was pregnant,
you were already
and so
pregnant.
on. Yes, and I feel my circumstances helped me be more go into that depression and so on. And one of the things that I am grateful for, I must mention their names, even though I know I did not get their permission. These people like Egonda Kloban, one of my good friends, she was also the ones that were pregnant ahead of me. Every time I expressed all the negative feelings I was having towards my daughter, negative meaning it was not a positive, it was like, I was just so neutral, everybody's so excited, and I'm so neutral. She never judged me. And I actually wish, first of all, that because I also went to these prenatal classes and so on, that they cover these type of topics in those things, just to make you aware that it is a possibility. Make you aware, because what they also advise is to go to those classes with a partner, and I used to go with my mom, so that the next support system that you have is also aware. And I think Igonda is one of the first people that said it could be postpartum, stuff like that. So, but she said it after my doctor even gave me mood stabilizers and so on. And then I had another friend, Tati. She was also very supportive, and she's like, whenever I felt, when you have those conversations of, sometimes the baby's crying and you want to put a pillow on their head to just silence them, she's like, it's always a victory when you just think it and don't do it. And I was just like, girl,
that's the idea. Like, my baby is crying, because what you're supposed to do is like, oh, my baby is crying, let me pick up the love of my life, and you're there like,
yes.
That is wild, because I actually want to ask, these prenatal classes you are going to, what are they teaching you then? If they don't teach you the very emotional aspect of pregnancy and childbirth and post-childbirth.
Sidebar, first of all, I'm gonna say, generally in my observation, everything around women is under researched, under shared, and so on. For example, even how I felt pregnant with my daughter, I had to use an emergency contraceptive, right? Because we weren't using protection, but then we had a situation, so I had to use emergency contraceptive. And then it's only then, in yesterday, years old, that I found out emergency contraceptives don't work when you're ovulating, which is literally the situation of the emergency, is it not?
Wait, they're not doing what?
Girl, they don't work. What? Yes, they don't work when you're ovulating.
Is it the point that,
Then the other one, thanks to my son, that I now know, is that antibiotics say bye-bye to contraceptives. They suppress a contraceptive. Yes. So So if we don't know that, I'm not surprised that in the prenatal classes they just teach you how to change a nappy, how to burp the baby, how to bath the baby, and how to do. I do think it's important to know how to do baby CPR. Yeah,
because
but that's about it. They don't really cover
kids choke. It's what they do.
Yes, they don't really cover what you might experience as a mother, and what your how you can be supported when you experience those type of things. Yes. So
sure,
I'm not surprised that they don't cover that. We don't talk even stuff like how painful breastfeeding is. We don't talk about that. We don't talk. People say
I only learned that from my friends when my friends started becoming mothers, and they're like, "Oh, I'm so sore," and I'm like, "For what? So for what? It's a baby. It's a cute baby."
I didn't even know latching is so important.
I didn't even know. Like, I was just like, "What are you so from? That baby has no teeth." You know, it's like, but that's the thing. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. A lot of people don't know this until you're in this experience, and you're like, "Is it me? Am I the drama? Like, am I the mother?" You're like, I'm a terrible mother, and all the mothers before me.
That's how I felt experiencing.
Post.
Okay. I thought it was just postpartum.
Yeah.
It's like I felt like such a villain because everybody is so happy and I'm so nothing.
But then, then I guess the question is, did you have the same experience or similar experiences with both your pregnancies? Or do you think that the first pregnancy was the one in which you really you can identify that you had perinatal depression at the time, thinking it was just postpartum, but did you have a similar experience with your second pregnancy? Because now time has passed, you're more
aware.
Yeah.
In the beginning, when I initially was preparing for the interview, I didn't think I had any sense of depression in my second pregnancy.
Okay.
In this moment when I feel my body and I'm just aware of how I'm feeling, I definitely had different symptoms from my second child, but they were there. I cared about him more. Not that much more in terms
but at least like the toes.
They were towing a bit more than when in the first pregnancy. But then most of my depression revolved around me, my body, my sense of self, around like that. So then that affected me. And then because there's also no education, I'm not educated and I don't know how to articulate myself, and then my partner's not educated. It caused a lot of ripple effects. And that's why I understand, number one, why people suggest marriage before pregnancy, because going through all of this, I mean, another person can just be like, I'm done, I'm out. Understandably so. But at least with a marriage, not that you will even be 100% more supported. We're not assuming that you'll be more supported, because there are a lot of
married single mothers.
Yes. And married single fathers and married one household person. Yes. So we assume a lot. And that's some of the things that we need to unlearn. In fact, there's so much unlearning that we need to do. There's so much unlearning.
Speaking of unlearning, let me segue into this. So we're very much in Africa. We're in Namibian, and that's one of the things that we have not yet successfully destigmatized is mental illness, and the importance of mental wellness. Even if you're not chronically mentally ill, because sometimes there's seasonal depressions, like for example, perinatal depression. It's not, your whole life. You mentioned your support system, and that's why I'm I'm like jumping on that. Do you think then your support system because you said you were going to classes with your mom and not your partner, and the second pregnancy you were more doing things with your partner. Do you think that your support system played a role in how maybe it affected how severe your depression was in retrospect, and how more than anything you viewed your pregnancy? And that's because you mentioned earlier that there was so much chaos going around with your first pregnancy, and a lot of these things are sort of playing in your head, but it also helped that you had friends who were like, oh, maybe it's this, right? But that was post time had gone by. Do you think that your support system, or do you think that the support system differing had an effect on how you felt and how maybe severe it was?
I do think it definitely had an effect. Okay, you've touched so many things.
I know. My brain.
Yeah, no, it's not a problem. I can manage. So I'm gonna take it from the last thing you said, working backwards.
Okay, let's do that.
Okay, so I do think the support system does play a role. I do think that when you are pregnant, don't take it very seriously. Take it like a life-threatening situation. When your friend is pregnant, be very aware of how they feel, how they are doing, because like you said in the definition, so much actually happens to you even while you are pregnant, and you just think, it's not this, it's not related to this. Even like now, I have somebody I love dearly, and she's in denial about all her pregnancy symptoms, and it's like don't do that, because you need to be aware of your state of being, right? So that you can
address it.
Yes, and move
Right.
carefully, right? But now, because I was not aware, then I also can't ask for help, and then because you don't know nothing in general, none of us are aware anyway. You don't know how to support or anything, so you just let me do what I think is best for me, and you just encourage that type of stuff. So from that angle, I kind of blame my support system, because we were all ignorant together, and we were doing the best that we can with what we have. But now we're moving into a new space, and I think we need to really sensitize ourselves. Pregnancy is hard. Having a baby is hard. Whether you have one person supporting you or 45 people supporting you, it's hard. Even now, I can share lots of stories with. We're never comparing stories, we're sharing information. When I look at, I have friends who have very supportive partners, and they still struggle with this, that, and the third. I have friends who are doing it alone, myself, and we still struggle with this, that, and the third. So this whole thing of giving birth and those first 2 to 3 years of that mother's life with a new person is not easy, and we all need to do better, to know better, to help better. Okay? And don't say to ask me for help if you need it. Say I want to
help
be with her once every 2 weeks for 4 hours.
Okay.
You understand? But you need to teach me about feeding, about allergies, about changing the nappy.
Right.
You understand?
Okay.
You need to show me how serious you are, because as a mother, even a mother will support, like your own private unit support at your house. You feel you're always conscious of, I don't want to burden anybody with my choices, which is my child, right? Or that is, I'm speaking for myself when I say as a mother. So yes, so then you are very cautious. So you're like, even when you need help, it's hard to just ask for help, because like you said, African culture, our cultures teach us asking for help is a weakness. Something to unlearn.
That needs to, and especially when it comes to help with regards to mental health. If you need someone to help you babysit, that's one thing. But if you're like, oh, I'm struggling, I'm sad, it's like, or don't be sad. Stop being sad. Stop being sad. Stop being sad.
So yes, so then it's like that with my daughter. Because of the problems I was having, I started. But even before, because I'm very intentional. That's why I'll explain her name later on. I'm very intentional. So with all my kids, for me, the most important relationship is the ones that you have with your parents.
Right.
And because we had our kids the way we did. When I say us, I mean the three of us. We had our kids the way we did together. It's a little bit more work to have that relationship with the father. But me, they don't have babies with me, guys. You will be a father, I promise.
No, as you should.
As one should, rightfully so. But it don't always happen.
Yeah.
With me, you'll be
You will be the father.
You'll be the
I
father.
can make this child alone.
Yes,
No, you're right. But before I want to get into your daughter's name, but before we get that, I just wanted to touch into culture. So I know that I think in your culture, you said you're a hero, right? So I know that you guys have like your either you move in with your mom, or she comes to live with you, or even if you're married or something. And I know that there are a lot of different, not only African cultures that do that, but some don't. So some are very headstrong on that. And I think low key, it's, even though we don't really talk about things, because in Africa we specialize in not saying things.
Yes, beating around the bush.
Yes, I think it's very much that. I think people know. I think we know. Centuries,
the other mothers
we know. So it's like it is now a cultural practice that if you're about to give birth, I'm coming and I'm gonna be with you. And it's because you need that support, that physical support, but also that emotional support. And one of our things is like, we don't really say, but we do.
Yes.
And I think the only thing that I want is for us to say it more, so that it's out in the, it's not a taboo to say like I'm struggling and things like that. So I think that's my only thing. But I think that is a big thing that we do have in some cultures.
I also want to touch on that because even me being the city girl that I think I am, I also thought some of these things, like in my culture, you wear a doek for like the first 3 months, and so and you don't,
a doek is a headscarf.
Yeah, a headscarf. Yes, and you don't do this, you don't do that. You shouldn't get cold and those things. Some things sound so outlandish.
Yeah,
but when you go through it, you actually realize what the things are for. And I feel if we're more open, right, we will address the things. Like when I used to ask me, I'm a questioner since birth, and I gave birth to a questioner. I'm suffering.
You see, you have give birth to yourself.
Aurora,
yeah,
my dear. So I was like, why must I wear a doek?
Yeah.
Then they used to say, J-hack it, you go off the rails.
Yeah.
In English, that would be the English comparison name. What the hell is that? Guys, say it helps your mental health. And to be honest, I don't know, but we experimented. Somebody tried to wash their hair and they tell you don't do it. And the person felt they became more on edge. And also,
so you're not allowed to wash your hair at all?
Yeah, you shouldn't. You should just keep your head covered. And you shouldn't your head shouldn't get cold.
Huh.
Yes. And even like you yourself, you shouldn't get cold. Those things, it's like, one, God is amazing. Sorry if you don't believe in God. God is amazing.
You probably shouldn't be on the channel then. I talk about God a lot. So if you don't believe in God,
then you shouldn't be here in the first place.
But you can stay.
We still love everybody.
Yes, we do.
So the woman's body is so, I want to call it diabolical,
yeah,
because it's so intricate, it's so intense, right? And that's why if you maybe get cold, it can affect your psyche. I'm not saying it in a scientific way. I'm saying it in an African culture way that they don't have the science for explaining what they have observed, right? So like when you're like, that's why they say you must wear the scarf or you hack it or you go off the rails. We don't have the research yet. We don't have the scientific understanding, but they've observed this, that these things seem to help. These scenarios seem to help. Having somebody at home. The reason why is because you just don't rest enough. Now imagine having to cook for yourself, clean yourself, clean the other human being,
that baby's crying,
clean the house, make the bed, all those things. And now imagine if you're married, then people want you to still have that responsibility of the household and a newborn. It's not okay. You're not going to be okay. You're gonna hack it. You're gonna go off the rails one way or another. So that's why we don't talk about it. We need to really mention why we do it. But that's why somebody comes home to support you. Then you get to stay in bed and they make you food. And I thought it was a joke. I'm my only child. I only had one child, and we had a maid. But somehow I couldn't manage to take care of my own child. Right. So my mom was taking care of me and my child, and then the house. Right. So if like for example in this moment you're like, oh, but I have a pregnant friend who's married, maybe I shouldn't bother them. No, you can bring them stuff, like bring them actual cooked meal. Don't buy like food from the shop. Like make a home cooked meal and say this is for you guys, so you guys don't have to cook. Even if they have a nanny, guys, those things help, because you know the nanny's cooking is not the same as like mama's cooking. You know, those type of vibes.
I actually picked it up earlier, then I thought about it and I forgot. I'm glad you brought it back. A lot of the times when somebody says, let me know if I can help, I genuinely mean it. I genuinely mean, and I'm waiting for you to reach out and be like, I need help today. But it's difficult sometimes. And so maybe instead of, we should move away from saying, let me know how I can help or if I can help, to say offering the help and saying, can I bring you dinner today, or can I do this today, or can I come and take care of can I babysit today, give you guys a weekend off, give you,
especially couples that have a child, guys, I will take her for 4 hours, or I'll be in your house, because babies, they don't like new things,
right?
They like their things,
right?
So I'll be in your house for 4 hours. You guys can even go sit on the stoop,
right?
And don't talk to the baby. Don't come in the baby room. Go pretend the baby is not there, because
just give you some
even
time.
That. Just imagine, you've made a whole human being, but somehow you must continue life as normal on the other side. You haven't even been given enough time to adjust, because in Namibia, if you are lucky, you can do actual maternity leave, which is 3 months.
Right.
But because of the financial implications that comes with, people do sick leave for about, I think at the most, if you're depending on where you work, you can get 3 months sick leave. So that they can still get an income, because it makes sense to pay us less when we have a baby. It makes sense.
If you don't know, in Namibia, the law states that we have a social security that you pay for every month. It gets deducted from your salary, and it's all good and well. So basically, this is what happens. The social security will pay you for the 3 months of maternity leave, and they'll pay you up to a certain amount. As far as I know right now, that amount is still 13,000 Namibian dollars, which is about just under, maybe around 950 US dollars, just for conversion, easier put that way, right? If you earn $40,000 a month, Social Security is still paying you 13,000. That is the cap. If you earn 100,000, they're still paying you the cap. If you earn less than 13,000, then obviously it won't impact you as much, because they pay you, they match that salary. But the cap is at 13,000. Now, this is particularly difficult because some companies will then say, okay, in that time we need somebody to temp, right? So we are not paying you because we're paying that whole salary to somebody else. Some companies will say, look, we will pay you because you are with us anyway. We will pay you the difference. So your salary minus 13,000, and then that 13,000 we'll use either, if we get a temp or whatever, we'll use for that. But very, very few companies do that, and one of the biggest employer, like the state, doesn't do that. The state caps you at that cap, and that's it. Yeah.
And on top of that, they always use the labor law to say, but we meet the labor law. And I say, labor law is the minimum requirement.
Right.
Nothing stops you from going above the minimum. And it's so funny that they like to use that, but right? Like, for example, now we're still in COVID, right? And recently our president has removed the mask mandate. But some places still want you to wear the mask. So I was like, no, mask is the minimum.
Right.
Mask is the highest. So you understand what the minimum law means, right? You just don't want to do it when it's not to your advantage.
And that's the thing, like, it's so interesting because a lot of it happens a lot across different things, but it's that thing where, like, once we set the minimum, and which is why I was actually really uncomfortable when the president removed the mask mandate, because I was like, somehow people's brains just go to the minimum. They're like, oh, then I don't need to do it. But we're not doing it for others, it's for you so you don't die. But okay. But that's the thing, like, we very much go with, I'm meeting the legal, yes. I'm doing what is within the legal framework, and that's fine. And you don't have to be bare minimum, you don't need to get 50% in school. You don't need to, like,
and you know,
I mean, if you're trying and 50% is what you are achieving, 100%. But if you have the capability to get 70% or 80% in whatever, and even not even in school, at work, stop doing your bare minimum. You have your KPIs, and you're like, I'm meeting my KPIs, key performance indicators, and you're like, that's what I'm doing. And then your review comes, and if you do like work reviews, and you're like, I know me, I met my KPIs, and it's like, okay, but did you ever go above and beyond? Did you ever do anything? So bare minimum, please.
It's not the energy we want.
No.
And you know, one of the saddest things that we realized recently, I say we because a friend of mine brought this to my attention, is that our labor law removed paternity leave.
Did they remove it?
It was only 3 days to begin with.
It was, but like at our company, we've actually increased it recently.
Yes, because you're not bare minimum energy. Well done. So then when the law removed it, a lot of organizations
also just
went back to bare minimum, and I was just like,
and the paternity leave is so important. But okay, that's a story.
So those are the ways in which we can. The support. I almost said outsiders, but you know what I mean.
The village. It takes a village, and we are all the village. Whether you're a colleague, whether it's even just a colleague saying like, "Dude, maybe I can take your shift or whatever." I don't know, depending on what type of company you're in.
Yes.
Like maybe I can take your shift just so you can get an extra day's rest or something like that. Maybe I don't have a lot of workload today, and let me take some off just so that the person feels a little bit less overwhelmed.
Yes.
And then of course the friends actually offering. So I think a big lesson that I'm taking from this is like, I'm here if you need me is one thing, and like,
here is food,
right?
Here is a babysitting voucher, use it But
Correct.
please give me 2 weeks notice.
Yeah, because also I also need to prepare myself emotionally.
Because a lot of things, even the one about the food, I learned because my friend did it to me.
Okay.
Then I was like, oh my goodness, this is making such a big difference in my life. I never knew. I never thought.
Yeah.
And that's why we actually need the conversations, because everything is a learning experience. The other day, I don't mean to plug people, but Karen Bao said something like,
okay.
Every day with my daughter, I'm learning a new person, I'm learning a new thing, and she's learning me, because this is something that was never there before. I've never been a mother before. So every day we're struggling together, and I think I'm doing good.
Yeah.
And that's literally this life, guys.
Yeah.
Every day we're struggling.
None of us have it figured out, yo.
But none of us have done this before. None of us have done it before. And even our parents, when they come talk to us with spice, guys, no, they have never grown up in this century with all of these things and trying to make it. No. So
I think the one thing we should do is obviously like learn, take what your parents say because they know things, they've been here, and take what your friends say because they've also have experiences, and then somehow find a streamline for yourself
and pave your own way, because we've grown up in such a society of one size fits all, and in reality it's no, we are like 6 billion, and we're having 6 billion ways, guys.
And I do take what you give me, and I appreciate it, and I will take it, and I will consume it, and I will process it, and I'll see which parts of it apply to me,
what works for me
exactly.
and what does not.
Exactly.
And then if you want to give the person feedback, that's why the conversations are important, because we must all talk about it, and then I know if I have this thing, this could be postpartum.
Exactly.
But it could also just be a normal emotional low that is temporary. That's not, you see? And then, okay, I need to go talk to a professional instead, because I can't differentiate just yet. Or no, let me wait a week. Okay, now I know I need help. Exactly. So that's why we need to talk with each other. Even don't be afraid to ask in a safe space, of course. Ask your pregnant friends questions. Ask them what should I know if you want to get pregnant, and things like that, because that's the only way we're gonna get
100%
better at this.
And I think we've already gone into, I had a question about treatment, but we've already gone into treatment, and I just wanted to add, I think, to something you said about you've moved therapists now, and I'm shamelessly plugging myself. I have a video with psychologist Mark Madaba, is a very good friend of mine, who talks about how we're human, right? We're human, and you and I get along because we get along.
Yes.
But in our high school, there were thousands of other people, and I wouldn't do a video with them the way I would with you, because I wouldn't be comfortable, because as humans, we speak to each other.
Yes, our energies,
that's the word. Yes. And so sometimes your psychologist, either some people go to one, or they're like, I had one session, that person doesn't get me. Okay, but you also have met millions of other people and they don't get you. But there are people who you then become friends with, and people that you're in a relationship with. And sometimes you date multiple people and you realize this one ain't it. And then you find yourself saying, I do. So you stop dating after the first time. You're like, no. That other gender, or the gender that I'm attracted to, is not working for me. I'm just going to be by myself. That's not how it works. And that's the same thing with with psychologists. Sometimes if you don't, either like Yetta saying, hers was great, and then she moved into a different stage in her life in which she needed a change. Or sometimes you go and the first 2 sessions are horrible, and you're like, ugh, and you find somebody else. Sometimes you need to change, chop and change. But I will plug the video in your
one of the things that everything starts with is trying to be aware of yourself. But the thing is, if you are too busy bodying, if you're too up and down,
you need to be still.
You cannot feel what your body is going through. And if there's one place everything will show you flames, it's in your body. It's in your body. Like your body will show you when it's okay. If you don't pay attention, you'll even end up in hospital.
I actually wanted to say
you'll even end up in hospital, guys.
So as someone who recently was that person who ended up in hospital, but I think one of the things is that especially now with social media, it's so loud and it's so easy to get distracted. You don't sit within yourself. So I've made a conscious decision, either in the morning or when I get back from work, I just sit, and there's no. If you know me, I do a lot of DIY stuff, and that's because I'm putting my phone away and I'm just sitting with myself. So maybe I'm painting or I'm whatevering, and in that moment I'm making jewelry. In that moment, I am within me and I can feel what is happening in me, right? And with social media, we're always on the phone. How can you understand what's happening in your body if all you're doing, you fall asleep, you wake up and the phone is in your hand, and the next day starts over and you come back and that's it. So I think that's very important, is to be centered and to give yourself an hour, half an hour a day of just sitting.
It's that awareness, and awareness comes through mindfulness. So do yourself a favor, and I think if I can find some content, I will share it for you to share in the description.
Yeah.
If I can't, do research mindfulness, because that's where it really, really starts.
100%.
Yeah.
So this has been a really, really heavy conversation, but we tried to navigate it. I hope we've navigated in a way that's still
upbeat. I feel like it was upbeat though.
So to end on an upbeat note, I would like to talk about Aurora, the light of your life. Hey girl. If you see this in like, I don't know, 20 years and you're like, oh my gosh, my mom is so embarrassing. Oh no, she's not 20 years yet, like 10 years. When she's a teenager.
Yeah, 16.
And she's like, oh my god, yeah, mom. Like,
first of all, if I'm embarrassing you, I'm doing my job right. I'm proud of myself. If I don't do it, who will do it?
Who will do it? Is it not your mom and your rich aunties? Is it not us?
Rich auntie.
Okay, so let's talk about Aurora. The name. I think I would like to end off in a good light, in a soft light. So tell me about the name and why it is the light of your life.
Okay, so I can't just tell you about the one. I'm going to tell you about all of them.
Give me the names, child.
So it's Atudembi, Aurora, and Lala.
Okay.
It's actually on her birth certificate, to most people's surprise. So
really?
Atudembi, yeah.
Because Namibians, they cut the limit.
No, I fight you, bruh. I gave
like...
birth alone. Please, I'm going to do what I want.
Okay.
So Atudembi is an Oshera name. My father is late. He passed in 2011.
Okay.
And because I am Oshera, even though I cannot speak the language yet.
Oh, girl, I can get classes.
My dear, I even have an Oshera nanny because my kids cannot suffer.
No.
I'm trying my best.
But that's a video I said we're going to talk about language and the importance of culture.
Yes, so that is so we should not forget, because if you look at my daughter and you look at myself and you look at her dad, she's an ancestral child. Even her aura about her, she's very mature for her. She's an old soul child.
Okay.
I really cannot explain these things better than I have said now.
Yes.
So good luck if you don't understand.
If you don't
what
get it,
forget about it. Okay, so that name is so befitting for her. Then Aurora, I named her Aurora because number one, if there's one thing I will die being, is an intentional parent.
Girl.
And the moment I found out I was pregnant, I was like, Lord, help me identify all them cycles, those generational what.
Ooh, the curses that
I need to break.
Right.
We're not gonna do this. We're not gonna do this. So that is why she's the light of my life, because she was already changing me from the moment I knew she was there. And one of the things that, one of the prep questions that she had asked me is, what is my favorite thing about being a mom? And God knows, I thought about this question the whole week, and literally as I was parking, it hit me. It's the self-development of it all, guys. Your children will trigger the trauma out of you, and your choice is to evolve, or what is the word when you go backwards? Whatever, or you go backwards, right? And I decided we are not, that direction is not the answer. So I have to evolve, because if I don't, who are you going to be? And that's one of the things that freak me out about children, is that the only prerequisite is sex, right? But then we're not intentional.
There's no application forms like, are you ready to be a parent?
Yes, or okay, now you're pregnant. Can you start thinking about parental philosophies and so on? And even though I only found out through therapy, that's what I was doing, is having a certain parental philosophy. That's what my daughter started me on. So so I'm very intentional with her. And how I'm intentional is that I think of the end product that I want. Right. So like when I look at you, for example, right, you're somebody I can take you to speak to Hagigenko, President, His Excellency Hagigenko, right? But then I can also make sure that you could be able to talk to a boomerang on the street corner, right? In a respectful way, right? And then you can also stand up for yourself. So those are the things I wanted in my daughter. Right. Then what do I do? and now I have a son. Okay, I want somebody who is a gentleman. You guys, let me tell you, go pick up my daughter from aftercare. He opens the gate. He waits for me to walk in. He closes the gate behind me. When we get home, the days he wants to take off my shoes, guys.
He wants to take off your shoes.
Yes,
like,
mommy,
it's been a long day.
Yeah. Guys,
God bless him.
I am trying, guys.
Oh, that's so
I'm
cute.
taking applications for marriage.
Like, girl.
Please. Yeah, so
Right.
yeah, that's why I love my daughter.
Intentionally, I'm so grateful because that's growth. Like, I'm so grateful for this conversation. I know it's not, we did try to have it in a very light way, but it's a very difficult and very heavy conversation. So I want to applaud you and I want to thank you for doing this with me. And basically, anybody who's watching this, I hope that it has helped you. Either if you are a mom, you are pregnant, you are a person who has the potential to be pregnant in the future, or if you are a friend and a family member of somebody who is around pregnant, somebody who's pregnant, somebody who's potential to be pregnant in the future. Basically, if you are a human on this planet, I hope that you've taken some lessons from this, and we'd love to hear from you. We'd love to hear if you have any tips to share that we might not have covered, and about your experiences. Please put them in the comment below. Like, subscribe, and all those YouTube things, and I'll see you in the next one. But thank you so much for doing this with me. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
It's really been a pleasure.
All right.
And yeah, guys, look out for my YouTube channel.
Oh yes,
Coming soon.
let me plug my girl. So she's gonna have a YouTube channel, and as soon as she does, I will share it on every platform, and we should really follow her because I think she's got so much, a wealth of knowledge that we can all learn from, and I think it'll be something similar. And of course, we'll have you back.
Yay.
Yeah. So maybe I'll come find my way, slither my way into your YouTube channel.
Yes, definitely.
We'll
You're
do
one of
so.
my first collabs, definitely. Yes.
All right. Okay. Thank you, dog.
Until next time.